Hello, I'm Dario Sablano,
And I'm Justin Sani.
and this is Dungeons and Dragons. So, at some point in your life, surely you've heard of Dungeons and Dragons,
I know, I definitely have.
but how do you play it?
Well, how do you play, Dario?
Well, this is a game for you. Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow. So, what is Dungeons and Dragons about? Well, the game concept is to introduce D&D to the casual player, or even the experienced player as well.
So, a little trivia about why it's called Dungeons and Dragons. It's because there's this guy from a high-tech future that gets dragged in to a medieval fantasy setting wherein action outcomes are determined by dice rolls.
And as you can see here, are some of the main characters as well as the concept art we currently have going on. So, let's talk about a little bit about the core mechanics. So, it's very similar to a game like Stanley Parable, Bard's Tale, is we have a DM or a narrator who drives their gameplay narrative. Your choices, or the main character's choices, and action dialogue will reflect the future and what will happen. And also one of the big things, you'll be able to roll dice in this game, something that has not been done in a long time. Also, your tech background as the main character allows you for one of our more interesting core mechanics, Bionic View, which allows you to see things that normally can't be seen due to your sci-fi nature. And lastly, your main character will be able to specialize to your preferred play style.
So how do you play? And how will you actually learn it? So you control the main character as you progress through the story, and as with D&D, experience points and level ups are given after you pass specific points in the story. The general game loop of D&D follows as the Dungeon Master describes what the scene and what's happening. The player describes and decides what action he will do. Depending on the situation, he will need to roll a dice, then the Dungeon Master describes the outcome, whether or not it's good or bad.
So you don't have much of a choice between choosing the dice on 1 or dice on 20.
So, but what would the outcomes look like? The styles we're going for, at least for the visual styles, is cartoonish rendering with 2D character portraits and interaction, sort of like how Japanese RPGs do it, and we'll also include D&D aesthetics in the sense that we will simulate the character sheets in the UI.
A little about the audio style. Now, the audio style is going to be Celtic style medieval music themed, with a hint of synthesized music, or as we know today, mechanical or dubstep. Main characters each have their own melodic theme to really signify the different characters and maybe even show foreshadowing of events. Our storytelling, well, that's what the main key is about. It is an affectionate parody of common themes. It is breaking of tropes. It's breaking the third wall and breaking the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh wall. That's also the story will be episodic, which means we'll divide these into 10 to 20-minute parts.
So here are some examples of the visual style we're going for, as shown by some media that influenced our work. And the character sheet in Dungeons & Dragons.
So Dario, why is this game going to be a success?
Well, this game will succeed because of the resurgence in the interest in Dungeons & Dragons. As you can see, based on Twitch data, there are 2.46 million new views for the Dungeons & Dragons games. And one episode of Geek and Sundry, if you guys are watching Critical Role, has garnered 95,000 viewers in a single session.
So as you can see from this chart, I won't really bore you with it, but let's put it this way. Dungeons & Dragons has really been an interesting and resurgence of popularity. In 2 years, it went from 10K to 30K. Now, currently, it's 50,000 viewers. And as you can see, Western media has also had a huge resurgence. And Stranger Things, they have talked about it, and many people are wondering, what is Dungeons & Dragons? As well as Eastern media has shown also a lot of themes and stories that are really influenced by Dungeons & Dragons.
This game also has a unique combination of mechanics that doesn't exist right now. Like, I was searching for a game that fits the criteria of this, and I haven't found one.
What's also going to be really interesting is, like I said, our mechanics will definitely change the game and change the style of what we want to go for, as well as an episodic thing that Telltale Games has really owned up to. So our genre and target audience, well, it's going to be a third-person, tactical, turn-based role-playing game. but we are focusing on PC development, as well as this is made for new and experienced players in Dungeons & Dragons.
So it's like for new players, they will think, oh, so that's how it works. And for experienced players, they'll all be like, that is so true.
So who is our current team? Well, Dario Zablano is our lead engineer. I am your lead producer. Currently, we are looking for lead artists and lead designers. Until then, we are acting as such. Our lead writer is myself, as well as my co-writer, Shan Brunetti. Our engineers are master students, as well as some graduates. Our music, we have 3 composers. 2 of them are critically acclaimed. And voices, we have currently 3 voices for sure, but we are, I imagine, adding on more as well. And currently, we have another 3 or 4 people interested in acting. So, what have we done so far?
So we've made the dialogue system kind of like similar to how Mass Effect does it, the circular wheel, and we could easily modify how the choices are populated.
So this is also kind of signifies how you would play the game. So usually what happens, you have a dialogue, you choose these choices, and from there, you can also use Bionic View. So what is Bionic View, Dario?
Bionic View is adding a post-processing to whenever the player right-clicks and holds the right mouse button.
And from there, using Bionic View, you can also name different options, and then what happens, events happen. So like what's something like this, Dario?
So over here, you could see how the narration cues are populated. So when the narration starts, after 0.745 seconds, scenery 0 the object 0 would show up. Then after 3.98 seconds, the scenery 1 would show up and sound 0 would play.
So like my events, what I think, what I say, all of a sudden it has real life effects right after I say something, right, Dario?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow.
And we've made custom die meshes with colliders and made it possible so that you can actually roll dice in game.
So when I want to interact with something, or when the event occurs, I will be able to roll those d20s and say, I got the d20, it's a critical hit. I got a d1, oh boy. So we've also done the initial backstory, kind of like the lore, and the story for Act 1 is in progress. We will release this story as well online to garner marketability, as well as have a target audience to say what they find interesting and what they do not find interesting. The concept music as well is also in progress. We have a couple of samples, but we cannot put into the slide today. So our plan of action.
We're going to make it using the latest version of Unreal Engine, and we'll use Perforce as the source control, and track our productivity using Trello. In the summer, we will implement the combat system, design enemies and levels, and continue on recruitment because we need artists and designers.
Our current production plan is up there, as you can see. It's quite small, but this will also change depending on what other team members we have, and we'll see in the near future what things come up.
So the scope is we will focus on the 5th edition of D&D, and as Justin has mentioned, it will be divided into episodes so that players could digest it more. It will be fully voiced, and it will use character portraits instead of facial animations. Some of the technical challenges that we've thought of is implementing the combat would need a bunch of things to consider. After that, we'll make the AI on top of that.
As well as some other D&D mechanics to simulate, which we really want to have a full experience of casual as well as experienced players. More Dungeons and Dragons, questions, comments, personal attacks? Just checking. Yes, sir. Oh, excited, sorry.
Have you ever seen the movie Army of Darkness?
I have not seen it. I have seen the trailer though.
Okay, you should watch that movie.
All right. Yes, sir.
So, Dungeons and Dragons is a troop role-playing game between players and a dungeon master. Is the dungeon master going to be authoring the content and controlling the monsters, or is it going to be players versus the game?
It will be players versus the game. We are having the DM will be more like a narrator, like I said, closer to Stanley's Parable.
Okay.
David.
Wow, you actually know my name.
Your name again?
I was just wondering, I have actually two questions. So you kind of stated that you wanted to kind of teach people how like Dungeons and Dragons kind of works. Are you actually going to be using like a real like pen and paper RPG role or rule set so that there are a lot of free ones out there that you can just use totally? Or is this more of like a kind of like an abstraction away from it? So kind of like what Baldur's Gate did originally to Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, we'll follow the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, so that's how we will do it.
Okay, and then the follow-up question is do you have any like concerns with like maybe Wizards of the Coast coming after you for that?
Good question. I actually checked, and as far as I learned, the D20 system is not really like exclusive to them. Like you could create derivative work based on it, but I'd have
I was
to
actually just going to say that you actually don't really need to worry about that because you can't really copyright game rules, and as long as you don't go ahead and call it Dungeons and Dragons, then they really have no place for you. So keep that in mind going forward.
Thanks.
I wouldn't worry about it too much either. I'll make sure to recruit 1 or 2 lawyers at the end of this.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.